And I like what Gannon said. I like Gannon talking a lot better than I do coaching. It is a hump day edition of Birds 365, Wednesday leading to Sunday, in a game that for the first time this year, the Eagles are favored. 7 straight times so far this year, the Eagles have been the underdog going into Sunday or Thursday night or whatever action they have for the weekend. They're actually a road favorite against the Detroit Lions. It's because the Lions are 0-7. But I am very much believing the Eagles are getting a win this week. Joe Krause joins me here on Birds 365. Boss, you think the Eagles are going to beat the Lions?
Well, Jody Mack, you know me. I always want to feel good about this football team going into the next game because I don't sit here as an expert or I don't sit here as an analyst. I just sit here as a football fan, and I want this team to do well. But I got to tell you, and you know that we love your partner, John McMullen. And I listen intently to John McMullen when I get a chance to watch Birds 365. And of course, every night on Football 24/7 when I get his analysis from the day. But can we tap the brakes on Jonathon Gannon? And can we start to process and understand that, to use John's words, dying by 1,000 cuts and letting the offense go up and down the field waiting for a mistake is not the formula in the National Football League.
Yeah, Johnny Mac's a fan of JGs, as he calls them, and was from the day that he hired him up until today. And yeah, I think John borrowed that from me, death by 1,000 cuts. Not good. As I just said with John last segment, at some point you can understand the philosophy, you can see the merits of the philosophy. But when you get enough actual evidence, when enough games have been played, when there's enough statistical analysis to sink your teeth into, you throw out what you believed he could pull off before the season started, and you just analyze what he has or hasn't accomplished in actual games that count. And it hasn't been good enough. The Eagles defense, I've said for the last couple of weeks, and certainly so far this week, I know Nick Sirianni's under fire. I know Jalen Hurts is under fire. They've had major offensive line issues because of injuries more than anything else. All that being said, I think the defense is a bigger problem than the offense right now.
Jody Mack, and you know, if Jeff Kerr were sitting in the chair, which he normally jumps in for Johnny Mack, he put a tweet out this morning, which I jotted down. 80% of the passes against the Eagles, the opposing team completed 80% 4 times this season alone. The rest of the NFL, the total was 7. I mean, think about that. So at some point, and then when you hear Fletcher Cox come out, to me as a fan, that's an indicator that the wheels are starting to come off.
That's a great stat by Jeff, and I quoted this one on Monday's show here on Birds 365 and stole it directly from our buddy Ruben Frank, or my buddy Ruben Frank, who had it in his NBC Sports wrap-up column on Monday morning. The history of the Philadelphia Eagles, Krause, prior to the start of this season, I think this goes all the way back to the Steagles, when they were the combination of the Steelers and the Eagles, going the entire history of the Eagles, they had played 1,250 some odd games. Allowing a quarterback to complete 80% of his passes, it had happened 8 times in the history of the Philadelphia Eagles prior to the start of this year. 1,250 some odd games, 8 times. This year, it's happened 4 times in 7 games. Actually, it's 4 times in the last 5 games. But for the season, you want to count the whole season's 4 times in 7. How do you then say, yeah, but we're doing what we wanted to do? We had a game plan in place. This is what we wanted. We didn't want to give up the big plays. Okay, nice idea, but then the results come out, you're 2-5, and you're setting records like that, allowing teams, quarterbacks to complete 80% of your passes. You have to just say, we got to change here.
You know, you said it on Birds 365 going into the game last week. We talked about it on the Countdown to Kickoff show on Thursday night. If you go back and look at every conversation I had with John McMullen last week on Football 24/7, we all talked about Derek Carr. Which Derek Carr is going to show up? Derek Carr is a middle of the road quarterback. If you put all 32 quarterbacks on a spreadsheet, Derek Carr is going to fall somewhere between 14 and 18, 14 and 20. That's the type of a quarterback that he is. Well, Derek Carr comes out against this defense and looks like Tom Brady. Looks better than Tom Brady in the game on Sunday. So that is where I stand, trying to understand what we're doing, trying to understand why the defense isn't competing. Johnny McMullen's going to say it's personnel. We don't have the linebackers. I asked him last night on Football 24/7. I'd love to get your thought on it. Alex Singleton last year under Jim Schwartz, Jody, couldn't get off the field once he came in.
Right.
They couldn't take him off. And now all of a sudden, Alex Singleton is ranked lower and lower with each game that goes by. Still getting tackles, but he keeps getting ranked lower and lower against the pass. He's not a pass guy. We already know that. That's in the bio. I don't get it.
You're right. All the linebackers are struggling in this defense. I don't know that there's a ton of talent there. Eric Wilson, John just quoted the numbers from Pro Football Focus, is 82nd out of 84 outside linebackers against the run. No great surprise. That was the reputation that he came in with. He's good in coverage, but he's bad against the run, and he has more than lived up to his reputation since he got here. Well, you acquired the guy. You signed the guy. You knew what he was going to be, yet you play a defense. You put a defense in place that's going to accentuate the things that he can't do. What kind of sense does that make? It doesn't make any sense. All right, I'm tired of beating up on the defense, Krause. I want to jump over to the offense with you for a couple of minutes. Nick Sirianni also coming under fire. Maybe not as much as Jonathon Gannon after the Raider game, but the Eagles offense didn't get the job done against Vegas either. But they also lost Miles Sanders. And Sanders had gotten off to a good start in the game. They were actually using Jalen Hurts under center and just handing the ball to Miles and moving the chains, go down the field, score a touchdown on their first possession. And then, unfortunately, Miles goes out with an injury. Do you think that Sirianni will at least open up the game the same way he did last week against the Raiders with a heavy influence on the run? And if he does Boston Scott just go from a DNP, or at least didn't play anything other than special teams, didn't get any snaps in the offense like he did for the first 6 weeks? Does he go immediately to the number one back in the most carries for the game against the Lions this Sunday?
Well, I'm hoping, I guess, that Jordan Howard is elevated off of the practice squad and inserted into the game day roster for starters. I think Kenny Gainwell showed why he is a great catch and run receiver off of a pitch and catch. He can get yaks. He's not going to get yardage running he's not going to get yardage running from the backfield. Although I will say this, you come into the season and you're still, the strength of your football team, Jody, is still your offensive line. You don't have to look past the Super Bowl year. You still have on this roster Jason Kelce, Lane Johnson, who's now back from his departure and dealing with his issues. Brandon Brooks, yes, we know he's out. Even Jordan Mailata was rostered back in the Super Bowl year. You still have the main your front offensive line should be able to blow people back. Move the football, run the football, create opportunity or create a chance for Jalen Hurts to get to Devonta Smith. Why is the Heisman Trophy winner non-existent, Jody, in this offense? I don't understand it.
And we were told that the quarterback and the wide receiver, have a tremendous chemistry, that they were so tight and worked so well while they were together in Alabama. And even during the offseason, as soon as Devonta was drafted, they started talking, they started getting there, they started working out. I don't want to say they look like they're estranged, but they don't look like guys who have been playing together for a long period of time. I don't know if it's that the National Football League is doing a pretty good job of covering Devonta. I don't know if in this system that Nick Sirianni has, like on defense, it doesn't emphasize what he does well. I don't know if Jalen's ability to get the ball out downfield is matching up. But you're right. I'm disappointed in Devonta. I don't want to give him a pass, because I put him on a pedestal that I thought he was the best receiver coming out this year. And Jamar Chase has kind of lapped him with what he's doing with Cincinnati right now. But everybody takes a major question mark in my eyes. Devonta himself, the quarterback, the play calling, the system. Yeah, I'm pretty disappointed in what they've gotten out of Devonta Smith so far.
Jody, playmakers, and you know this, playmakers make plays. No matter what system they're in, playmakers are expected to make plays, and they make plays. Devonta Smith hasn't really made any plays. A couple of big shots, one he was knocked out of bounds, stuff like that, but he's not making any plays on offense. Now, is he not that good? Is Jalen Hurts not that good? Is Quez Watkins not that good? I don't know the answer to that, but I know the gentleman who's calling the offensive plays, the head coach, is not getting it done. No. And I've got to believe that Nick Sirianni on offense and Jonathon Gannon on defense are the main two reasons that we're 2-5 going into week 8.
Here's what we know about Devonta Smith. He does lead the Eagles in yardage receiving at 400 and change. He's the only guy they have over 400 yards, which isn't great when you think that Jamar Chase on Cincinnati is over 700 yards. So by comparison, yeah, the two guys just aren't. One is having a breakout season. The other one's having a somewhat yawn-inducing season. And maybe even more telltale, as you were just relating, Krause, Devonta Smith's first ever catch in the National Football League was a touchdown on a tremendous touch fade pattern back of the end zone against the Falcons week 1. His first ever catch was a touchdown. Man, you talk about setting the stage for a career. We're still waiting for that second touchdown. We're now going to week number 8. His first ever catch was a touchdown. Number 2 hasn't arrived yet. Yeah, somebody's got to answer the question why that is the case.
You know what, Jody? When I saw in last week's game Jason Kelce express on the field frustration, he didn't do it in front of the microphone. Fletcher Cox stood in front of the microphone and expressed frustration.
Yep.
Jason Kelce, in my opinion, was expressing frustration with what the hell's going on with this football team right now. He did it on the field and did it with the official. He didn't do it on the podium in the postgame. But when veterans start to check out, I know you have Barrett Brooks coming up for the second hour. Barrett Brooks said to me that going back into training camp, and there was all this conversation about Nick and being a new head coach and all of this. And Barrett Brooks said that veteran players will follow a new head coach if the new head coach can prove to them that he can make them better. And I don't believe that this coaching staff is proving to the veterans, at least two of them, that he's going to make them better. Fletcher Cox said it, and Jason Kelsey expressed it.
Which is fair. And I thought both of those guys were well within their rights to be able to do so because they are Super Bowl champions, something Nick Sirianni is not. It's fair. I'm not ready to go that, and Gannon kind of touched on this. I'm not ready to go, is he losing the locker room? I don't think that's the case. In both of those two guys' cases, Kelsey and Fletcher Cox, I think it was the frustration of the moment that they had gone out to Vegas and they'd gotten their tail kicked the way that they did. I don't think they carried it back on the plane. I don't think they've been carrying it the last couple of days after they returned from Vegas. I think it was the frustration of the moment. And I like what Gannon said. I like Gannon talking a lot better than I do coaching. I like what he said in that I'm okay with Fletcher being mad. He should be mad. That tells me he's a guy with a lot of pride, and we didn't get it done, and his pride is ticked off, and he's not going to put up with it. He was okay with what Fletcher said. I was okay with, and then I like the fact that Gannon acknowledged it and didn't try and fight back and like Sirianni did, point out that Gannon's not getting the job done. He didn't say, well, my system might not be great for Fletcher, but Fletcher's got how many sacks and how many millions of dollars we pay? They could have made it a war of words. Gannon wisely diffused it by saying, I see where Fletcher's coming from. He's got a point. So I don't think the fissures in the locker room as far as the coaching staff goes. I think the fans have had bad enough, but I think the players are still okay that they'll go out and bust it. I think that despite having questions in the coaching staff in a lot of different ways, I think they have played hard. Even in the second half, the offense has become very good at getting, by the way, garbage points. I don't know that the defense ever quit on Gannon on this past Sunday or at any time during this year. I think they played hard throughout the season. I don't think that's come into play yet, Krause, that the veteran guys are like ready to check out on this team in this season. I don't think that's the case yet.
Well, you got a new head coach that you're going to compete against this week when you go into Detroit, and Dan Campbell, the head coach of the Detroit Lions, is 0-7, and guess what? He has not lost the locker room. The Detroit Lions are 0-7, and the Detroit Lions are playing like they're 4-3, or 4-2, or 5-2, or 3-4, whatever it is. They're playing hard, and they're competing. And Jody, I agree with you. I don't think the defensive players are quitting on this football team. They're playing the game that's being crafted for them by their head coach.
Krause, one last thing, and then Barrett's going to join us coming up next hour. And I know on at least responses I'm getting on Twitter, on WIP the last couple of nights, even a guest we have here on Birds 365. I'm in the minority. I'm giving the Detroit Lions very little credit for hanging tough, for being in every single game, for coming close to their opposition who has more talent than they do. They've lost every game. 0-7 is 0-7.
Yep.
The Eagles aren't good, and they found a way to win 2 games. The Lions are flat out bad, and that's why they've lost all 7 games. As a matter of fact, this past week against the Rams, talk about pulling out all the stops. Nick Sirianni had the ill-fated onside kick attempt to start the second half, which, by the way, Jake Elliott did a really good job on the kick aspect of the onside kick. He did a terrible job on the recover aspect. He went into his slide way too early. If he had just stayed on his feet, he grabs the ball, he falls down, the Eagles get it. So Jake gets half credit, but not full credit for what he did. And I had no problems with Sirianni trying to roll the dice there. Speaking of rolling the dice, Campbell, 1 onside kick, 2 fake punts in the game this past week against the Rams. So he pulled out all the stops. And, oh, by the way, he was successful with every one of them. The Eagles tried it. They didn't even get the ball. It cost them. And what was the final score? They lost. So, no, I'm not a guy who buys into the, yeah, but they're playing hard. Yeah, but they're still behind the coach. Yeah, but it's all – no, it might not be a matter of time. I think they're that bad a football team that no matter what the coach does, no matter how much they may like him, no matter how inspiring he may be, they're not talented enough to win a football game, and I don't think they're going to win one against the Eagles on Sunday.
Well, that may be the case, but let me know when DeAndre Swift or Jared Goff or somebody from the Detroit Lions walks up to the podium and checks out on the scheme that they're playing in Detroit, win, lose, or draw. Jody, I'll leave you with this because I know you're going to transition into some real football talk with Barrett Brooks. But I said this last night on Football 24/7. I want to thank all of the viewers, subscribers, and watchers of Birds 365. I want to thank you, Jody Mack. I want to thank John McMullen. 450,000 hours of content consumption on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel translates to 27 million minutes of consumption on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel, and that is through October. So great work by you. Special thanks to everybody who watches the show live, who consumes the information throughout the day. Great shout out to Xander Krause as ready.
You know what?
Well.
You know what that tells me, Krause? We as Americans have too much time on our hands. If we put 27 million minutes into me and McMullen, damn, we got to get a hobby
channel
or something.
Well, the channel, 27 million in the whole channel. Birds 365, the middle with Aton, Barrett, and Harry, and of course the National Football Show, the post-game show, all of that stuff. But still, 27 million minutes. I'm in on that. Thanks to everybody, brother.
You got it, Krause. Thanks very much. Yeah, that's a lot of time spent here on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. Glad you're enjoying it. We got an hour left of Birds 365. You've already heard from Johnny Mack. Joe K jumped in for a couple. Joining me next is former Eagle, Mr. Middle himself, Barrett Brooks, going to jump aboard Birds 365.